Welcome to episode number 10 of Clout 941. I'm your host, Ron Filipkowski, and we have, as advertised, our best show ever tonight. We are adding a new segment to tonight's show, which we will have coming right out of the first commercial break, called the Rumor Mill. Now, our criteria for this, what this segment is about, is we're going to report on stories and things that we've heard around town about power players, political candidates, politicians, who might be running, who's not running, who's up to what. We are not going to report these unless we have either heard it directly from the horse's mouth or confirmed our rumors through multiple independent sources, because we really want to make sure that everything that we report is accurate. They're going to hopefully, each one of these, be stories that we break ahead of the mainstream media, that people, by watching this show, will be able to find things out long before they appear in the newspaper. Send us your rumors. If you hear things around town, ever since we kind of put this out via email blast, we've gotten a lot of calls and emails from different people with their rumors, things that they've heard, and we are in the process of making those calls and tracking those things down and trying to confirm them for next week's show. But for this week, we've got quite a few good ones. We want to shift the focus of our shows, the last few shows, away from the candidates. We have spent a lot of time during the election cycle covering the candidates. Now we want to focus more on the issues, the things that are happening post-election from the candidates. And that's what we want to get away from. So on to some news items. First of all, 3 weeks ago we made our Weasel of the Week Pelican Press reporter Rick Barry, who we called the worst reporter in Sarasota County. About 10 days after we called him the worst reporter in Sarasota County, he was fired by the Pelican Press, which is a positive development. Good riddance to Mr. Barry. We have heard through the grapevine that he has been shopping his services around town, tried the Observer. They said thanks but no thanks. Hopefully he will be forced to start his own rag, which nobody will read. Another news item. This week, Shannon Staub, County Commissioner, the chair of the County Commissioner, will be opening a brand new state-of-the-art veterinary center on Clark Road, which we're breaking that story also tonight. We're the first news outlet to announce that. It's going to be on State Road 72. The reason why I say state-of-the-art is this is supposed to be a green-friendly, environmentally friendly veterinary center, and she's going to be cutting the ribbon for that on Thursday. Also, the $16 million jail. The new jail is being talked about again. We just built a new jail and spent $60 million on it 5 years ago. Now they're saying it's overcrowded. My campaign for public defender, which I started over a year ago, one of the main reasons why I wanted to run was because of this. We do not need a new jail. In my opinion, we have not exhausted all other alternatives. Since Carly Bruscia was killed by Joseph Smith, the jail population in our county has nearly doubled because we have overreacted. The way that we handle and administrate criminal cases has led to the explosion of the jail population. The taxpayers of Sarasota County do not need to spend another $60 million on a new jail. And by the way, that's just startup costs. Then you have to staff it with nurses, corrections officers, visitation personnel. The bills go on and on. We've got to exhaust every alternative before we build a new jail. Another news item, probably related to building a new jail. Heroin has now been legalized in Switzerland. But don't worry, folks. You can only get it from the government. You have to actually go to a government center and get shot up twice a day. That's what they're doing. And this is a great experiment. It's actually passed by a referendum by the Swiss voters. Go figure. So we definitely should never look to Europe for so-called sane policies, because hopefully this is something we will never see here. Another news item. There's a three-way tie, Gator fans. Who are you going to play in the national championship game? Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Texas, all finished 11-1, all tied, three-way tie. How do they break the tie in the Big 12? Whoever is the highest ranking in the BCS, the highest ranking in the polls. Mike Leach, who's generally considered the smartest football coach in college football, just a brilliant guy, happens to be the Texas Tech coach. He proposed a different tiebreaker, that it ought to be graduation rate. What a brilliant proposal, because number one, Texas Tech happens to have the highest graduation rate in the Big 12 Conference, and his arch rival, Oklahoma, happens to have the lowest graduation rate. So with that tongue-in-cheek statement, he got a nice dig in at his rival. and promoted his school at the same time. It was great. Another news item, Debbie Trice, who's on the little paid attention to Charter Review Board, has started the process to get the ball rolling to have constitutional officers in Sarasota County appointed by the county commission rather than elected. That means our new slate of sheriff, property appraiser, tax collector, etc., they want to start the movement, and our sources tell us there's at least one county commissioner who is behind this, and the ball has started rolling to have the Charter Review Board explore having an appointed sheriff put on the appointed property appraiser, appointed tax collector, etc., put on the ballot for 2010. The ball is rolling, and we need to stop it. This would be a huge mistake. I think all the constitutional officers oppose this, which I asked all of them at Tiger Bay last month whether they are adamantly against this. We don't want to take things away from the hands of the people and invest the county commission with that much power. So that's the items in the news for our commentary, and we'd like to introduce Property Appraiser-elect, appropriate time to introduce him, Bill Furst. Thanks for being on the show, Bill. What do you think about that last item, having a property appraiser appointed by the county commission?
You definitely don't want to have the county commission appointing the property appraiser, because then they would have ties to tell them how to appraise property. Appraise property high so we can get more income. That's something the voters need to decide.
So what about the other offices, the sheriff, all of that? Just your general feeling on that across the board?
I don't know why you'd take it away from the voters. Let the voters pick who they want and let the people campaign. I don't think they should be appointed positions, any of them.
Before you decided to run for property appraiser, what were you doing?
I've been in real estate since 1974 in Florida, all phases of it. I've been in the construction business as a builder. I'm also a mortgage broker. So just all phases of real estate, most recently doing some development work in the Manatee County area.
Why did you decide to jump into the political arena? You never ran for office before. You probably knew a little bit about what was going to happen if you got in, that it was going to get hot, all of that. What made you decide to jump in this race?
I knew a very little bit.
Okay.
As you know, campaigning with you. It was interesting, and it was something, the story never really got out in the paper, and I wish it would have. But a good friend of mine, Brian Muirs, came to me in the summer of last year and said that he was going to run for property appraiser. And he built quite a network of people up, and asked if I'd support him, and I said yes. Why? And he started telling me about all the bad things that were happening in the property appraiser's office. And I said, yeah, I'll support you, and started talking to my wife about it. And I said, Brian's running for property appraiser. That's really something that I think I've trained all my life to be. And then somebody called me up in November, and about a year ago, and said, Brian just backed out of the property appraiser's race. And I called him and I said, have you decided you're not going to run? He says, I'm not going to run. And so I said, can I call some of your support group? And he had a pretty good organization set up, and I called them, and they interviewed me and for about the next 3 or 4 weeks, and said that they would get behind me.
That is interesting. I've been on the campaign trail with you quite a while. I never heard that story before. I didn't read it in any of the newspapers.
So when everybody said that I was bought and paid for, and developers went out and found me and convinced me to run,
right,
that's as far from the truth as could possibly be. But it was a great story for the press, and you know how they like to run with stories, whether they're true or not.
Well, we're glad to be able to rebut that here. We're going to go into a break, and when we come out to our first break, we are going to hit the rumor mill.